Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. At UFC 268, Kamaru Usman defeated Colby Covington for the second time. And now that Kamaru Usman has a win over most of the top welterweights in the division, people are wondering who's Kamaru Usman going to fight next. Now, I have a list of the three most likely opponents. I'm going to go from least likely to most likely. I've done these videos before. And at the end of the video, I'm going to give you a complete wild card opponent that I've heard absolutely nobody mention yet, but I think it's very possible that it could happen. I don't think it's the most likely, but since it's kind of random, I'm going to throw it out at the end of the video. So the first matchup I came up with is Khamzat Chimaev. And I know that sounds crazy, but a lot of people have been suggesting it. And not that I personally don't think Khamzat Chimaev has earned a title shot yet, but the hype behind him is unreal. And I know this sport, hype shouldn't really mean all that much, but we've seen the UFC do some crazy things in the past. I mean, I wouldn't doubt Conor McGregor's coming in off of what, two losses, two stoppage losses. And I would not doubt if Dustin Poirier wins the belt next month, Conor McGregor could return to a lightweight title shot. So we've seen crazier things. The fans would want it. Khamzat Chimaev seems very confident and ready to fight for the title. I know, he only has that one ranked win that he got at UFC 267. But if some other things fall into place, which I'm going to talk about later in the video, there's a chance that Khamzat Chimaev could step in there and fight Kamaru Usman. And Kamaru Usman's looking for the biggest fights. And who right now in the welterweight division garners more interest than Khamzat Chimaev? Because if there's somebody there, I don't know who it is. Khamzat Chimaev is probably the biggest name in the welterweight division. Only 4 fights into his UFC career. And, he has the real potential to become a massive UFC star. And while I'm talking about this fight, I want to talk about the realistic possibility of Khamzat Chimaev beating Kamaru Usman. And, I would most likely pick Kamaru Usman in this matchup as it stands right now. We have limited information on Khamzat, only the one decent opponent. But I really believe, and I've said this before, anybody that can keep it standing with Kamaru Usman has a chance to win. Because if you look at Kamaru Usman's style, you look at his heavy wrestling, his heavy clinch work, his biggest weakness is his sloppy striking. And I know he's looked good against Colby Covington, but Colby Covington's the same style fighter. I know he looked good against Jorge Masvidal, who is a good striker, but Jorge Masvidal was worried about the takedowns. And you have a guy like Khamzat Chimaev who has that heavy grappling base as well. And if he's not worried about the takedowns and he has the superior striking, I'm not saying that he does, but I'm saying in hypothetical scenario, if he has the better striking, there's no doubt that he would be able to take out Kamaru Usman. So I would love to see that matchup. I need to see Khamzat get maybe 2 more wins against relevant opponents in the welterweight division. But I think it's possible. We'll talk about the other circumstances, what would have to happen for him to get it right now. But let's move on to the second matchup, and that is Kamaru Usman versus Vicente Luque. Vicente Luque is on a nice 4-fight win streak. He's coming in off that huge win over Michael Chiesa, who was ranked, I think, number 6 at the time he beat him. He beat him by stoppage. Before that, he beat Woodley. Not that great of a win, but it was an amazing fight. And just the fact that he stopped him, he put on a more impressive performance than Colby Covington did against Tyron Woodley. And again, he's on a 4-fight win streak. Kamaru Usman has called him out before. And also, him and Kamaru have the same manager. And usually that's kind of a sticking point where people say this fight isn't going to happen because they have the same manager. But in this case, I mean, the guy getting a title shot is going to get more money than any regular fight. And the champion obviously needs a fresh contender. And Kamaru Usman and Vicente Luque have not fought before. They're former training partners. It would be a compelling matchup. The UFC could kind of sell it. It wouldn't be the biggest fight ever. But Kamaru Usman is just, he's shown he's willing to be active and fight anybody and everyone. And, he's the most active guy in the welterweight division. I mean, look at this year so far. To go out there and TKO Gilbert Burns, then go out there and start Jorge Masvidal, and then rematch Colby Covington and beat him in impressive fashion. I mean, Kamaru Usman's willing to take any fight, in my opinion. Anyone who says, oh, Usman's ducking this guy, ducking that guy, I just don't believe it. He's so active. I think he would take the Vicente Luque fight. I think Ali Abdelaziz would want these guys to fight just because it would be best for his pocket as well. And it's a fresh contender, so I think that's likely. So let's get to the number one person that I think Kamaru Usman is most likely to fight next. And I'm sure you guys already know this. After this fight, I'm going to get to the wild card matchup that I think would be crazy if it happened, and nobody else has really mentioned it so far. I haven't seen anybody else really talk about it. But this number one matchup is Kamaru Usman versus Leon Edwards. Leon Edwards is on a long win streak right now. He has a fight coming up against Jorge Masvidal at UFC 269. If he wins that fight, there's no denying him a title shot. People already think, he's deserved a title shot for quite a while now. And, if he beats Jorge Masvidal, he finally has that quality ranked win, where he hasn't really beat the best of guys. I mean, he beat Nate Diaz by decision. Before that, he had a no contest against Bilal Muhammad. Before that, I can't even remember who the opponent was before that. He was out for a while. He was supposed to fight Tyron Woodley when Tyron Woodley was just coming off that loss to Kamaru Usman. And had he been able to do that, it was circumstances out of his control. Had he been able to, make that fight and beat Tyron Woodley, which I suspect that he would have beaten Tyron Woodley last year, he would have got the next title shot. So it's kind of a funky scenario just because Leon Edwards is on such a long winning streak. He doesn't have any of those quality ranked opponents. But if he beats Jorge Masvidal, there's no denying him a title shot. I think that would be 12 wins in a row. I'm not 100% sure, or 11 wins in a row. And there'd be no denying him a title shot. But let's say Jorge Masvidal upsets Leon Edwards and he beats Leon Edwards, however he beats him, knocks him out, decisions him, whatever. That's when Khamzat Chimaev can really start making the case and trying to get the fans on his side and maybe get a title shot. Because if Leon Edwards isn't there to fight for a title, I know you got Vicente Luque, but there's people in the UFC's in a business to make money. They could potentially say, you know what? Khamzat Chimaev, I mean, they tried to give Khamzat Chimaev Leon Edwards, who was the number one contender. I think he was number one or number two ranked guy at the time. They tried to give him the Leon Edwards fight last year. There's no doubt in my mind, if the timing was right, Dana would be like, you know what? All I'm seeing is green right now. It would be a big money fight for Kamaru Usman. He would definitely take it, and it would sell very well, and it'd be a very interesting storyline. 5 fights in the UFC, he's fighting for a world title. That would be insane. So if Leon Edwards loses to Jorge Masvidal in December, don't be shocked if Khamzat Chimaev ends up in a title shot. So let's get to this mysterious wild card matchup. And this is something I've really have not seen anyone else talk about, on YouTube or on Twitter. I really haven't seen too many people suggest it. But there's a fight next year, Israel Adesanya versus Robert Whittaker. And Israel Adesanya and Kamaru Usman are good friends or whatever, and they both said, they wouldn't fight each other unless it was an absorbent amount of money. And I think it's an amount of money that the UFC is not going to be willing to pay. But if Robert Whittaker can get his middleweight title back from Israel Adesanya, I think there is a chance we see Kamaru Usman versus Robert Whittaker for the middleweight title. There's no doubt in my mind, Adesanya, if he loses the belt to Robert Whittaker, there's no doubt in my mind that Kamaru Usman would potentially move up to middleweight to challenge Robert Whittaker and look for that second belt. Now that the friendship is gone, the champion is no longer Adesanya. It's not like Kamaru Usman and Robert Whittaker are best friends or anything like that, or they don't. I don't doubt they even have a relationship like him and Adesanya do. So I have no doubt that Kamaru Usman would want to go up there, see if he could capture a second belt. He's 35 years old. He's talked about his legacy quite a bit. He's talked about that he's not going to stick around forever in this game. So we could there's a realistic chance. I mean, it all depends if Whittaker can win the fight against Adesanya, which I'm probably picking Adesanya in that fight. But there's a real chance we see Kamaru Usman look to capture a second belt if Whittaker is the champion. And I really believe, I know there's a chance of a trilogy if Whittaker wins, depending on how the fight ends, injuries, whatever. But if Whittaker's the champ, I think Kamaru Usman is going to be looking to fight for the middleweight title next. So guys, let me know in the comments, what do you think about all these fights? I gave you 4 potential matchups. Comment down below, which is your favorite matchup for Kamaru Usman next. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like the video, and I'll see you in the next video.